Arsenal are winning the Premier League. Arsenal will do it this season. Arsenal must this season. They're the favourites now. It has to happen. They must win it. No more excuses. They're better than everybody else. Arsenal are winning the Premier League. The bookmakers have Arsenal as the odds-on favourites as things stand to lift the English Premier League. Liverpool and City come in second and third place. Once you get to the Chelsea's, Tottenham's, the fact, by the way, Man United are in the top six is absolutely horrendous because Newcastle, Bournemouth, I think they all have a better chance than Man United, even though their chances are also slim. But Arsenal, factually speaking, as things stand, are the favourites to win the Premier League. So what I've been getting for the past 4 or 5 days is everything in the opening 30 seconds. Terry, you must think they're going to win. Why are you not predicting they're going to win? How can Liverpool still be your favourites? Terry, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And this is all very much from people who don't believe Arsenal were going to win it, who don't want Arsenal to win it, that are hoping for, praying for a lead and a collapse so they can attack Arsenal and they can attack anybody that believes Arsenal will or can win the league. Now, clearly, I was being somewhat sarcastic. If you couldn't hear it in my voice, my answer to you is touch some grass, get off the internet, make some friends, have some banter, and live. Because I think if you live, I think if you have that friendship, that camaraderie, you'd understand the sarcasm and the exaggeration in what I was saying. Now, can Arsenal win the league? Yes. Yes, they can. My mind has not deviated from that point. Not at all. Not one single moment has my mind deviated away from that. All summer, I felt they could win it. After the meltdowns, after the performance against Man United, even though they won. After the meltdowns about losing narrowly to the champions at Anfield, my mind didn't change. The City game, I did criticize Mikel Arteta. I felt he could have been braver in that match, but my mind didn't change. Arsenal have a fantastic chance, a very good chance of winning the league. Now, I understand why they've become favourites in the past couple of weeks. Liverpool have lost 3 games on the bounce. Arsenal have turned a bit of a corner. They've been braver in their team selections, and they've been a much better team in the last couple of games. And I actually think the fact they've only scored 2 goals in each of their last 3 games is a little flattering to their opponents. So I get why they've become the favourites. The one issue with the betting odds is if Liverpool come back from the international break and smash Man United and Arsenal was a draw, the odds would change again. And for me, I have no problem with changing my mind. I don't care whether people call that flip-flopping. It isn't. When facts change, when your opinion changes, the strongest thing you can do is admit it rather than doubling down, digging down, and creating a massive hole for yourself that ends up making you sick. I still have Liverpool. This is the real serious bit here, 3 minutes and 57 seconds in. I still have Liverpool as my marginal favourites. The next 4 to 5 games between this international break and the next one, my mind could change. If Liverpool don't start to improve on performances, we suddenly go into 10, 11 games into the season. We go more than 25% of our way into the season. Bigger question marks have to be asked. If Arsenal do go on a 4-game winning streak and create a 5, 6, 7 point lead at the top of the Premier League, then again, your mind changes. Now, you may have been someone that always thought Arsenal were going to win the league. So you're going to sit there and go, Terry, but I've always believed it. That's fine. And it's fair that you believe it. I'm just not at a point where I'm willing to make Arsenal my favourites at this particular juncture. However, Liverpool have only been my marginal favourites all summer. I don't feel there has been this need for this massive switching of opinions 7 games in. I get if you're an idiot and you didn't think Arsenal had a singular chance, then you've had a massive swing. I think if, like me, you expected Liverpool to be better than they are, then the gap's got even smaller. But it was only marginal for me in the first place. Are Arsenal the favourites with the bookies? Yes. Do they deserve to be? Yes. If you look at the way betting odds happen, they look at not just the odds, but they look at the probability, and they go with betting patterns. So as Liverpool lose a few games, less people bet on Liverpool, more people bet on Arsenal. They shrink their odds. A lot of that is to protect themselves financially as well. You know, it's one of the reasons why Man United, even though we're awful, are there and we've got lesser odds. Is, say, for instance, the news that came out today. Let's just say a Saudi takeover happens this week, and they come in and clear the debt. And there's a massive boost of enthusiasm at the club. And the club literally say, look, there's no PSR problems now. We're spending 500 million pound in January. If the bookmakers put us at our real odds at like 250, 300 to 1, 1,000 to 1, you could really put us at 1,000,000 to 1. We're not going to win the league. If they did that and then that takeover happened, because of who and what United are and the spending power we'd have, they might find themselves in a bit of a predicament if there wasn't a massive gap. So sometimes the odds are there to protect themselves against those types of anomalies. But United's odds should be further out, which is why I don't use the odds as my standard bearer. I use my own football knowledge. I use history, and I look at the current state of the squad, team, relationship with the manager, the feel-good factor at a club, and all the things that are really, really important. So do Arsenal have a chance of winning it? They always have done. Has that chance got better? Abso-friggin-lutely. The next 4 to 5 games, I think, are huge for me in terms of my own personal opinion about who I think is winning that Premier League title. Now, the one thing I am going to push back on is this must nonsense. This Arsenal must, Liverpool must. What that means is a few things. It's multi-layered. And I wish I could see your faces while I was saying this to see who laughs and smiles once I'm saying how they use it. Arsenal must. Part of that, Liverpool must. A big part of that is a seed being planted to say, oh, if you don't win it, I can't wait to go in on you. That's all it is. It's not real serious analysis. It's banter, and that's fair, has a place in football for fans, not professional pundits, not for professional multi-billion pound organizations, but for fans, fair. There's also the deflection tactic, which is, if I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm a bit nervous after spending 400 plus million, we're not going to retain our title. I'm going to do the Arsenal must to deflect. There might be Arsenal fans who, have spent the better part of $1 billion, 800 plus million, 3 years in a title race, going into our 4th year. Imagine we don't win it again. How are we going to live this down? Do you know what we've got to do? Let's push it towards Liverpool, that are champions, and spent a lot of money as well. Let's make it all about them needing to the most. And again, I get that. I understand it. It's not real football analysis. It's a deflection. The same as the other one prior is just banter. I want to rip into a rival, which is fair, but it isn't real analysis. Arteta must win a trophy this year. I feel with the investment he's had, the quality of the squad, the years at the club, if he doesn't win at least a trophy this year, you're moving towards failure in this period. And I always say this for anyone who's new. I ring-fence the rebuild. The rebuild was completed 2.5, 3 years ago. Once they got into that first title race and sustained it, and they maintained it the following year, the rebuild is complete. Consistently competing for league titles, for me, is the proof that the biggest teams in the world are as close to being fixed and running perfectly as possible. As close as you can almost be. That the only next stage is getting over the line. But I always think that comes down to minute details, the manager being better, or a couple of individual players. I think they have the players now. So the rebuild, huge success, deserves plaudits and praise, and a special place at Arsenal for that, because they were a broken, toxic football club. The last 2.5, 3 years, it's judged on what are you winning with this brilliant team you helped to build, and so far nothing. So winning trophies is important. Can't get away from that 1,000%. Arsenal must versus Arteta must, I think, is a separate conversation because this Arsenal squad will be here next year. There is no signs that these players are all going to sail off into the sunset if they don't win this season. So the Arsenal must thing, aside from banter or deflection, is a nonsense. Arteta, I agree. The Liverpool must thing, from a banter point of view, yes. Oh, you spent 420 million. You broke British transfer records twice, and you didn't win the Prem. Well, let's see what else they win. Let's see how close they come. I think the criticism will land heavy if the performances don't get better and the manager was to lose his job, as an example. And right now, I don't think that's going to happen. If they run a close second, have a brilliant Champions League campaign, but just can't quite win, but they're purring and playing well, the must thing doesn't make sense because it's highly likely they go again next year. And I know go again next year has become a very toxic phrase because you get a lot of the amoebas online, you get a lot of the fools online, a lot of the rage baiters online that just want to, everything's got to be here. If you don't, it's the season finale of The Sopranos. It's the end of Game of Thrones. And if we don't get the ending we want, we're going to riot because it's over. There's nothing we can do to change it. Football isn't like that. It continues. And there were many, many years where brilliant Arsenal, brilliant Chelsea, brilliant City, brilliant Man United teams in the Premier League era came second, came third, didn't win a trophy, lost in a final. But because we knew the squads were good, because we knew the quality of the manager, there was a disappointment, there was criticism of individuals, there was a need for new players, all of that. But there was never this baby being thrown out with the bathwater nonsense we're seeing in 2025. And for me, that kind of talk is partly what for me has been killing the game and killing the game in a bad way. And we've got to go back to normality. We've got to go back to, you can criticize without wanting the world burnt down, the whole club burnt down, the world burnt down. There has to be that happy medium back in this game. And the mainstream media are not going to do it for us. And they should. The pundits are not going to educate us on that. They're going to perpetuate it. I think we, the fan channels, and I know for some of you, you love the meltdowns, but the meltdowns can still happen without the need for, it's a bit like a marriage. You and your lovely lady wife or husband can have a vicious row where you say nasty things, you scream, you shout, you don't talk for a week. That can happen. But the idea of just walking away now, I better fight. Well, you're not going to make it work. You're not going to resolve the situation. No, get rid of it all. Start again. That's not how life should be. Not in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong. You could see it very differently. That's why we're here. Let us know in the comment section below. But to round this up, Arsenal, are they winning the Premier League? Some people think yes. I think they've got a massive chance. I love your views. I love your opinions in the comment section below. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you soon. Peace.